Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. We are kicking off Season 3 with a bang with the wonderful and talented narrator, Crisden. Hi, and welcome back.
Was that innuendo?
Which parts?
Kicking it off with a bang. I don't know what you expect of me.
Oh, with
I'm
you,
back. Yes, here I am.
I've learned to expect the unexpected, and it's always awesome with you. So,
well, doesn't that then make it expected?
I don't know. Yeah, there he goes again.
Yes. I'm pleased to have returned. There may be the possibility that I never left.
That is true. You never know.
Working in the background, just change my hay, give me fresh water. That sort of thing.
We do love and adore you, so it's very possible that we just kept you here. So
this is possible. I may not be against such a thing.
Yeah. Well, we will be including all the links to all their previous chats that we've done before. So things like, how do you prep a book and stuff like that we won't be talking about today. But let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and all this fun stuff in romance and voiceover.
Fun stuff. Oops, I dropped my pen. See, I'm sitting here at my desk, and I as is the case with me, I may or may not have pants on, and I'm sort of organizing my desk space because now that I'm actually sitting here and not doing admin or focusing on work or trying to prep something, I'm looking at the desk and this is a mess. How does anyone work like this? It just, yeah. Okay. So, how long have I been narrating? I've been narrating for, since November of 2009. So see, this is interactive, so folks can do the math and figure it out. Because
yes.
What's that, 11?
11, yes. Well, yeah. I have allergies in mathematics, so never mind.
yeah. I'm no mathemagician.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Yeah. Audible says 11 years, though, based on Audible list. But you've probably been doing
Sounds
that
good.
more than that.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure my first book was November 2009. So that was right around the time I had been a voice talent for all of, I think, 3 days. Yeah, I'm not even joking. I had just started and had always wanted to be an audiobook narrator, or books on tape. I'm sorry, it was books on tape, that sort of thing. And got a lucky break. And for some reason, they seemed to like it. And I kept going. And then here I am.
Mm-hmm. So you said voiceover talent. Is there actually a difference between voiceover actor, voiceover talent, and narrator? I mean, what are those differences? Because I've heard you guys use that differently. And I'm going,
Sort of interchangeably. Well, I don't perceive a difference in voiceover versus voice talent versus voice actor or actress. You use your voice as a creative tool to express media as needed creatively. So typically, anyone doing voice work, I would probably include phone sex in that. That's voice
probably,
work.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So even if you do phone sex, it's that type of voice work. I just consider it as voice work. So voice talent, voice acting. Some people may have some definitive definitions for it that elude me and my little brain, but I just call it all the same. But you can break it down into the different facets of voice work. So narration obviously is one. Audiobook narration specifically. There's also other types of long form narration that I end up doing as well. Everybody knows animation as voice work. Video games, I've actually done a lot more animation now because that's sort of my first love. That was what I originally wanted to do. I want to make cartoon voices. That seems like so much fun. And I guess I got sidetracked with audiobook narration, but but it's I've been doing a lot more narration, of course. Animation is what he wanted to say. Now than I have. So that's taking up a pretty sizable chunk of my session time now, and a ton of video games. So doing that kind of character work is always fun for me too. But you also have things like IVR, interactive voice response, which is basically all the phone prompts you hear. That's a whole subgenre. People who are into promo for radio, TV, trailer work for movies. E-learning is a big one, medical narration. There's so many facets of voice work that people tend to either fall into or specialize by default in. And I just like making funny voices. So if I can get an opportunity to do that in whatever capacity, it's probably about 60% of what I do is audiobook work. So that's still my bread and butter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was at your on your website a little earlier today, just catching up on things. And it's
yeah, that website may have been updated in 2015, 16.
Maybe. Yeah, because I'm going, hey, it's things from last time I checked it out. But
hey, consistency, right?
But yes, you're
very consistent.
Yes, reliable.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah, totally. And but still, it still amazes me when I'm like going through the reels and it's like, it says like video games and all this stuff that comes out. And I'm going, holy shit, that's all him. Because it's all these different voices and different ranges. And then the next one is like, like cartoons and animations. And then again, that moment of holy shit, it's all him.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the fun things about it is that I can actually get paid to make a bunch of funny voices rather than just doing it at home alone for no financial compensation. So it's a win-win for everybody, right?
Yes, getting paid for that is good.
Yeah. Well, you let all of the voices out that are in your brain and the various personalities and afflictions that I'm subjected to. I think most creative talent that end up becoming performative may share that idea that it's basically just a blanket excuse and full license to act the fool and just do all the stuff you wanted to do but in polite, proper society, we don't often get to express. So, you get to have a little fun. I can be a big monster. I can be a screaming lunatic. I can be a tender lover. I can be a burly bear. Who knows? It's all of the things in life, right? So you get all of the things.
Yeah, but it's still a lot of work because you guys have to prep the information and know that you're going to be doing insert type of voice here.
True.
So there's still that side of us because I what I don't ever want is to discredit you guys as from that perspective, but also have people go like, well, I do funny voices. I can get like, yeah, you should probably get some coaching. Yeah. Hide yourself in the closet for an hour or two.
I can say, oh, it's easy work, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a relative term. Mm-hmm. It's easy much in the same way that I've become accustomed to it. There's a routine, and I've spent countless hours in training, in coaching, in practicing, and in performing to reach the point where I can say, relatively speaking, it's easy. And I always make the analogy that, well, I'm not down at the docks hossing bananas onto a boat or, out in the wilds chasing down gorillas and wrestling them for some unknown profit motive. But so this type of work, it's easy, relatively speaking, but that easy is predicated upon the fact that it takes a tremendous amount of skill and dedication and training and just practice to get to the point where it is, relatively speaking, easy. Wasn't easy in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I would never say to someone who wants to start out that, oh, this is an easy gig, you'll love it. No, it's a cutthroat industry. It's very competitive. You must build a strong entrepreneurial spirit because it is a business. And you are running a business with yourself as the brand, and which I'm not all that great at. And
you've gotten better.
Which you have to... I'm getting a little better. We had talked previously about how I'm sort of social media averse, and I'm a relatively introverted, secluded person. I call myself the misanthropic desert hermit. Now that I moved to the desert, I'm in the deserts of southern Arizona, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I've lived on both coasts, and this is where I want to be. But yeah, not the biggest people person. I kind of like being alone in my crypt, so it keeps me here. I get recharged by just basically solitude. And where other people, obviously more extroverted, they are recharged in social settings and with other folks. So yeah, me with my brand, I can do it business wise, but for fun and kicks, gits and shiggles, I'm not exactly you won't see a ton of me on social media currently. I post some stuff, and I love interacting with fans.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but I rarely volunteer a lot of personal stuff on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever the social media flavor of the month may be right now. I don't know. I'm old too. This is beyond me. What's hip now? Tell me. You have to point me in the right direction.
You would probably do fun
TikTok.
Fun at TikTok because of all the different voices and the aspects of that perspective. But it's very much there's the TikToks, like a lot of it's in front of the camera. There's some accounts that are more like behind because of the voice situation or anything. So you would probably benefit from either one. But yeah, I mean, I was like the other day I was going through your Twitter. I was going through Twitter and it says, Sean Crisden, I've posted something on Instagram. I'm going, oh, okay. He connected his accounts. Yay.
I did good, right? See?
Yes.
And even on my Instagram, I've put up what do they call it? The kids today, I've put up content.
Ooh, yes,
see,
yes.
look at that.
Look at that.
I've posted some content.
Yes. Upcoming books.
Content. That's right, guys. I put up some content. And I every then and again, I often forget because truthfully also I'm usually working. So I need to set aside time to sort of manage this social media persona of hey, look at what I did. And it's also overcoming my natural, just my innate need to not necessarily over advertise myself with, hey, look at me, whoa, I'm the best. This sort of hyperbolic self advertisement. I'm mildly humble with the things I do, but there comes a point for the sake of the business that one must put themselves out there to say, hey, by the way, I am doing things. I am alive. So
yeah, I think there for a second
that's
there.
always a challenge for me.
Yeah, someone was like, hey, is he still narrating? I'm like, yes, he's still narrating.
Is he alive? Who knows? Has he returned to his underground burrow for another season of hibernation? It can be, so that can be challenging. And so I'm usually trying to find a way to appease both myself and for those who ask, like, hey, what are you up to these days and what's going on? Where usually, you can, for audiobook stuff in particular, most of it hits Audible. Some authors are moving away from the platform and looking at other routes and other channels for distributing their books because of all the shenanigans going on. But for the most part, for audiobook stuff, you can definitely find it there. I'm trying to streamline just my website, which one of these days I will do, so that it will link to pretty much everything I'm working on at any given moment that I am able to post prior to it being released from an NDA. So at some point that should happen. But, yeah.
No,
I even posted. Oh, what's that?
I was going to say that a lot of people don't really realize that you guys do have to sign like a contract that includes an NDA about you cannot tell anybody about what you're working on until X date or whatever. Yeah. So
like there are some projects that I'm in process with right now that this is so much fun. But I am not at liberty to say what it is. It doesn't occur as often with audiobooks, but definitely with video games and some of the animation stuff. You're often, you got a gag order where you can't exactly reveal all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But it keeps it interesting. And then my problem is my session schedule is usually so full that by the time I can start talking about something, I'm 2 or 3 projects down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I've in effect sort of out of sight, out of mind it, and now I'm just on to something else and I've forgotten.
Yeah.
So I really need help. You should help me. You should help me.
I should. We'll talk offline.
Yeah, I have to rely on you. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
We'll talk offline.
I know you are the
but there's also why I don't
champion of these
ever
great things.
ask you guys specific details about a book you've narrated, because I know that you guys are constantly wiping the memory bank free, per se, to kind of start the new one refreshed and stuff like that. And so if I ever do want to discuss something specifically, I always send you the email saying, hey, you recorded this a few months ago. Or the opposite. If I know that you're going to record it, I'll send you the note beforehand of saying, write this stuff down while you're recording, and then we'll get together afterwards to talk about it.
See, this is smart. Especially for me in my creative process. Everything, once a project is completed, it essentially gets purged from my RAM. So all the memory of it, just I have no idea. People will ask me, "Hey, you did this thing, and you were I did. Yeah, you were great. I was. Yeah, and it was. I couldn't believe it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was great, and I did the thing right. And I have no idea. And they have to jog my memory. I mean, I've done hundreds of audiobooks, and I can't even tell you how many video games and characters and now at the animation, and just trying to figure out where I am at any given moment, or someone will say, hey, you remember in this book, in this chapter, when this character said that?
Yeah, it's hard.
So it can be challenging.
Yeah, even as a listener and a reader.
Stick with you.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, especially if you stick to, say, a particular type of genre fiction where some things can end up feeling formulaic, where you literally can just plug in different characters, change the names and the locations, and ultimately, though it's still the same ride, we're still hitting the same beats, it becomes more and more difficult to distinguish one from another, especially when they're good or they're just okay. In that range, before they're just crap, I remember a lot of the crap stuff for some reason. And I remember, of course, a lot of the things that were exceptional. But when they're just okay to good, it's kind of the middle ground, and it just sort of blurs together in the collective memory of, I think that was a thing. Yeah. That sounds about right. You could convince me I did anything at this point. A lot of fun at parties, this guy is.
I was going to say, let's not you take advantage of that one.
Careful you.
I'm good, I promise.
Right. You forget I have been here before.
Yes. And we've talked off before. So yeah, you totally, you know the game. Speaking of before, what have you been up to since the last time we talked officially online? Because I think the last time you were packing and moving.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe I can't remember, because I've been here now for 3.5 years. When after I left LA, I moved to Phoenix, south of Phoenix, this little town called Casa Grande, which is surprisingly rich and has lots to offer here in the desert. But I'm sort of in the outskirts of it. I basically live in the desert. And so maybe I was packing to move here.
Yeah, I think so.
Does that seem right?
Yeah.
Sure. Again, just tell me anything, and I'll. Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And so I've been here. I love it because all I wanted to do, again, back to me basically being an introvert, was I just wanted to get out of the city. So the last big city I was in was Los Angeles. And I said, I just want to go back to the desert. I said, just give me a couple acres, and I just want peace and quiet and not a ton of people on top of me, and enjoy the scenery. And, I'm a fan of the heat, so I love the climate. And that's what I did. So I moved out to the desert and built a studio out here, a separate studio on the property. And
Nice.
that's where I spend most of my time. It's very quiet, just the wind blowing, the howl of coyotes at night, scorpions vying for my attention, and bedclothed. It's not too shabby. I feel like right now in my life, the desert is definitely what resonates most with me.
Good.
So,
yeah. Well, it's definitely important to have that environment that you can thrive in, but also in your line of work where you can at least control the volume a bit. It's
important, especially since I believe the last time we spoke, if that was the time, I now have a 2.5-year-old.
Yeah.
That,
yes, you do.
Yeah, I just found him in the desert, apparently. So it was, I will nurture you, child, and make you my own and teach you my ways.
Like a little version of you. Yeah.
He is like a little version of me. And the funny thing is, when we moved here and my wife realized she was pregnant, when we went to the OBGYN, they said, well, it looks like your conception date was, April 2nd or whatever it was. And she said, that was the exact day we moved into the house. Then when we moved. And what can I tell you? I was a little inspired. Yeah. So, put in a little extra work.
Making all the rooms good.
Yep. So then that was, comedically to the accuracy to which you can entrust the date of conception. But yeah, so it was
when he gets older,
literally
he
the day we moved
in.
Oh boy, that kid's already ruined. Are you kidding? Listening to this is nothing. He is my son.
That is true.
He has to put up with me and just and he's hilarious. I mean, he's a hilarious kid. He has quite a personality for a little crazy toddler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's something. I hope great things for him. Whatever he does, I just hope he's happy and fulfilled doing it.
Yeah.
So.
No, he has his lovely energy about him. The pictures I've seen in the little videos and stuff that the wifey has posted and stuff like that. I'm always like, he's so cute. And
he's an adorable kid. He's
adorable.
Lucky too, because I lost the receipt. Can't send him back.
I know, right? I know. Mine's 18, and then sometimes I'm going, where's that damn receipt?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
18. Hey, see, look, you're done. You've served your time. Your tour duty's over.
Oh no,
right?
my dear. No.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Don't tell me this. This is what it said in the brochure. 18
I wish.
years,
No.
and then rocket to the moon.
There's
That's
some fine prints in those receipts that sometimes people don't read. But also depending on the location, as far as the background or whatever, like from a Latina perspective, we're never done. The Latin community, we're never done with them, which I've had to remind mine. He busted out one time. But I'm 18. I'm going, did you forget your mom is Latina?
Yeah, there you go.
There's no such thing as 18. No.
Never ends. Not even after you end up moving in with him.
I know, right? And then... Yeah. Well, it's funny too. He had the cutest reaction the other day because, again, ages and stuff like that. And when kids do things, he already has 2 tattoos, which I was fully aware of. And, I was there for both of them, kind of a thing. And he had gone out with the girlfriend, came back, and he did something and lifted his shirt up. And so I saw something there. And I said, what the? He goes, it's fake, Mom. It's fake.
Oh boy!
I like the reaction. It's fake, Mom. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, it's okay.
That's right. You trained him well.
I trained him well. Yes. Yeah. It's all about communication for me. It's all about just tell me that you're gonna do it, so I don't get in shock or whatever.
That's right. Well, two of my cornerstones of any relationship, personal or professional: open communication.
Yep.
The management of expectations.
Yes.
So those things are extremely important. I recently added another tenet to it, which is the expectation of kindness. And sort of an exploration of the people that you enter those relationships with. There should be a general expectation and demonstration of kindness and patience with each other. If I have a relationship that's lacking those 3 things, then it's suspect, be it business or pleasure. Or personal.
Yeah. Honesty is another big one of mine. Like, just tell me,
Yeah. I cover that in just the management of expectations.
Oh, that's
true. So if you're not honest, just let me know.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I lie a lot. Okay. Then I know what to expect. Right. So you no longer need to be honest. But what if they were being dishonest by telling you that they lie a lot, and that means they're actually really honest. So we all win anyway.
Yeah.
So see, it's great. It's great.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. See, welcome to my world. This is, like I said, that kid is ruined. He is ruined.
I'm gonna have to have him on the podcast in a couple of years and just say, "Hey, honey, now how you doing?"
All the inside scoop.
Yeah.
How you doing? He will give you the scoop. Believe me.
Or the next time that you're around, I'm hoping he'll
yeah.
pass by and say, "Hey, Dad, who you talking to?"
Nobody. I know he could expose me, all my delicate secrets, and air the dirty laundry, which, yeah, most of it right now is just poopy diapers. That's the dirty laundry right now.
That is true. Yeah.
So
at that age,
working on that potty training.
Yeah. Is that going well?
We're gearing him up for it because I don't want to get into it prior to the cooler weather coming here in the desert, because some of it will be water restriction overnight to help him learn to hold his little bladder for the morning. So rather than loading him up. So while it's still hot, that may constitute cruel and unusual punishment here in the desert.
Yes, a tad.
Water?
Yeah.
What do you mean you need water? So yeah, just a scooch. So once the weather breaks, we've been priming him with appropriate songs and books and stories. So it's on his mind. If that's something you can believe for a 2.5-year-old, whatever way you want to believe that actually happens.
No, that's definitely something that that the parents are always like, I can't wait until they're potty trained. And then it's that, but then it's that whole process that I think people forget sometimes, that you have to get them trained. And that is a hit or miss.
Yep.
And all up to the child too, because you try to do it as far as age appropriateness, but depends on the child.
Absolutely.
With a lot of things.
Like age appropriate is hard to say because it's specific to that individual child.
Yeah.
If they're emotionally and mentally prepared for that level of self-regulation and discipline, and this squirt is I'm worried, actually. I'm worried about myself because he's quite shrewd for being 2.5. He has some interesting powers of deduction and reason that we'll see how this develops.
Yeah.
This is
You'll have to keep us posted.
Going to be a challenge. Dad might spend a lot more time in the studio than he should. So just remove myself from the situation. Oh, he did what? Oh, really? Oh, I didn't even know that was flammable. And so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen.
He's your son, though, so why do I have an image of him just taking off the diaper, going woohoo, and running around naked?
Oh, were you there when that happened?
No, but
on the many times that's happened, you were there, I guess. Yeah, he's something. He is definitely something. I believe they say spirited. He is a spirited child.
As long as he doesn't bust out with. But I saw Daddy do it.
I've told him never to say that. Never to say that. My daddy pees on cacti. Son, that's not. We don't. That doesn't leave the family. So yeah, it's hey, he's definitely going to be poised for an interesting life.
Yes,
I think whatever he chooses to do, simply because I am a little odd. So hopefully that won't ruin him, and he won't. That's one way to put it. He won't need years of therapy to make up for my particular approach to parenting. I mean, my wife definitely tempers everything, but we'll see. Yeah. Time will tell, right? Yeah. I'll be in my 60s when he turns 18. So. No, who knows? I may no longer have a mental grip on even what's going on anymore. Yeah. So,
or he'll be so well adjusted.
It's slipping daily.
Yeah, he'll be so well adjusted that when someone says, "How are you dealing with this?" he'll probably bust out, "Have you not met my father?"
Yeah. I feel bad for him. I do.
Nah.
His friends are. Oh man. Yeah.
Well, wait until he finds out and he gets older and starts dating that Dad does romance novels. That's
That's
like,
right. Oh, I'm probably going to invite his dates over and tell him, hey, I'm his dad. I narrate erotica and romance. I've done it. Have you read this one? This one's great. This is a great book, I'm slowly moving where my actual narration workload is less than my commercial and video game and animation workload. It's almost 50-50 right now, where it used to be maybe 70-30. So I'm actually doing more game work and animation. So that may end up taking the forefront. So then some of his friends may be excited to meet his dad, who
that is
he
true.
was the voice of this thing in that show, or he did this game. I mean, that could work to his advantage.
That is
or
true.
It could just be, who knows? With that generation, it's terrible. Everything is super corny. Is corny even a word?
Yeah.
Anymore? Everything is
lame.
Embarrassing.
Lame, I think it's a term that they're using nowadays.
Yeah, totally
lame. Yeah. But or it could
I
just
think lame was still big when I was in high school.
it's these Gen Zs
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, no. The Gen Zs and the millennials are like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, dude, I wore that when I was 19 in the 90s. So chill. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
They're redoing stuff.
Well,
now.
I was startled to see the those high-waisted, what we called the mom jeans, were made a comeback. Like really high-waisted, and they don't flatter many figures.
Nope. No, they didn't back then either.
The first go round.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
Janko
interesting
ones.
that made a comeback. I actually, yeah.
Yeah, remember the Jankos?
What? Yeah, I had a pair of Jankos.
You did?
And I had to acquire them. I couldn't afford them. I had to acquire them. And I had because I was a skater too, so at that point in time in the 90s, skate fashion was basically the bigger your pants were, the better.
Yeah.
And
Pacific Sun.
What was the other brand?
Pacific.
No, I never had Pacific Sun.
You never had Pacific Sun? Okay.
There was another brand. I didn't.
Okay.
I mean, I say it like it's the past tense. I was a loser and a nerd, and it was my coming of age, which obviously lends itself to my current position and perspective on life. Was basically I was an outsider. I was a nerd when all I wanted to do was read and watch educational television. I listened to classical music. I was a big classical nerd. I was a violin player at the time, and I didn't play any sports, any team sports. And I loved reading. I collected comic books and action figures and all this stuff that now kind of gets celebrated as cool nerddom. Back then, we bled for being a nerd like that. Yeah, you were mercilessly beaten and teased for any nerdy pursuits, and especially so growing up in the inner city in Philadelphia. So being a person of color in Philadelphia, growing up where, not to get too real, but if you weren't hustling on the corner, didn't spend time in prison, or have 3 baby mamas, you weren't considered a man. So as you're growing up in this sort of toxic environment, and I like reading Spider-Man. So
and violin and classic music,
and violin and watching Nat Geo and Cosmos, and just it was challenging. And the funny thing is, I was often teased for people saying, "Hey, you talk white. You talk too white." And I come from a really mixed background, so I got a little bit of everything flowing around in my blood. Most people think my mother is Puerto Rican, and I was always trying to struggle to find a place to fit in that I was too white for the black kids and the other minorities, and I was too black for the white kids. So always kind of skirting that line. And I look back on it now, and while it had certainly had its share of traumatic experiences, it forced me to be more self-reliant and more independent than rely, and to also not necessarily rely as much on what my peers, so-called peers, were doing. And I used that white voice to make sure that I got a job in voiceover, y'all. So what you got to say about that shit? So it was something that I used to my advantage, which unfortunately isn't always the case with some kids. So it made me who I am, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with who I be. So it's something that I just look back and have to acknowledge with, all of us, where there was a culmination of all of our experiences and encounters and ideas that we had as we grew up, for good or ill. So
yeah, it's tough sometimes though, that whole like not being enough for one or another. Because I mean, I'm first generation American, and my dad was from Cuba, and my mom was from Chile. So while I was still the Latin community, it was one of those where I was very Americanized growing up, because my mom was like, well, we're here in the States. And so I did not really have a whole lot of that culture background of knowing the poets and this, I mean, except for Celia Cruz, because hello, Celia Cruz, you know, and Gloria Estefan, who was also from Miami, and was living there at the time. So it's just stuff like that. I was like, you and I'm like, well, I'm not white enough for some things because of the Latin background and the dark hair and dark eyes and the olive skin. I tan really well though. So I was like, sorry, bitch.
Yep. Hey, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. And then not having like, but you don't sound Latin. I'm like, oh God, yes, I don't have the accents when I speak. That's because I'm American. But yeah, so do you speak any Spanish? I don't think we've talked about that before.
Well, my Spanish used to be much better, conversationally. I was married in the Dominican Republic. And when I was there, I was, oh boy, that was, don't tell my wife, I can't remember, 10 years ago, give or take. So I had brushed up on my Spanish too, because I never have an opportunity to really use it. And when I was there, I was conversationally fluent. It was very broken. And right now it's practically non-existent. But it's, I was mistaken as a native many times, especially once I got enough sun and I got dark enough that it would work until I'm, oh, wait. They'd start speaking so fast that my brain just would shut off. And all right, I got nothing. But yeah, my Spanish is practically non-existent. I speak Mandarin, which that's a misnomer at this point, because to say I speak it, I haven't actually spoken Mandarin in a very long time, and that's practically gone. I was actively, I was planning on going to China for training. I'm a martial artist, and that was, boy,
that was a few years ago.
That was more than a few. When I was planning on going, and I had a private tutor for about a year and a half, so I was reading and writing and working for conversational fluency, and that's kind of gone. And it's one of those things where if you don't use it, and I was watching movies in Mandarin and staying fairly abreast of what was going on. There's a lot of vocabulary that was beyond me, but now it's I can maybe catch every 6th, 7th word or idea and try to figure it out. And speaking is just useless. So maybe one day I will recapture that. But yeah, outside of that, I'm lucky I can speak and read English. So we'll take that. We'll take that
as a win. Yeah. Well, language is it's very particular and specific to the regions and the countries, and there's been many times where even in Spanish, I'm conversationally fluent to some extent, but like I understand it. But man, I've put my foot in my mouth a few times.
I know this feeling where I don't even bother anymore.
Yeah.
Because I just to avoid those situations, and because I know that my proficiency is diminished significantly. Like I need, and every so often, on these brief moments where I have a thought of a flight of fancies, I should work on my Spanish again. I should work on my Mandarin again. I should go take a nap. And guess which one wins?
Nap. I'll have to send you that TikTok.
Although there are fewer naps these days. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jamie, my wife, loves TikTok, so every then and again I get to see some of the TikTokery, if you will.
Yeah. I'll have to send you the one that goes, I had a lot of things to do today, but you know what I did instead? I took a nap. It was a very good nap. And they have different videos, and in my case, there's probably a lot of cats and dogs.
Well,
but for
when it works,
day
it
in the
works.
life of a narrator.
I'm a fan of the nap. I haven't had a good nap. Yeah, well, I haven't had a good nap in a while. I suffer from wanting to work too much, so I'm a bit of a workaholic, and as I'm working. My whole plan when I moved to the desert, to what I call the CDC, the Crisden Desert Compound, that I wanted to slow down. Right, so I'm
how's that working
so
out?
I'm gonna slow down a bit. That's cute. It's well suddenly there's this little human spawn that appeared, and anyone who has had a human spawn and wishes to be even remotely a reasonable parent who is present and affectionate and contributing to that spawn's well-being understands that that's a full-time job. So between balancing and my wife Jamie does most of the heavy lifting, don't get me wrong. Like she, it's like when you when you get you go to the pound just to look at a dog. We're just going to look to see a dog. Okay, if we come home with a dog, that's on you. So somehow, if we went into the bedroom and the lights turned out and I lifted up her shirt and I said, I'm just going to look. It was on me. So so I have a kid, and
I love your wife.
So this is, you have to, because she puts up with me. I tell her daily. I was just telling her last night, how do you put up with me? How have you lasted this long? Any lesser human being, any lesser mortal would have long thrown in the towel. So I don't. She's certainly made of some stern stuff. It's that South Jersey Italian, I guess. I don't know, but she's, bless her heart, she puts up with me. She's heard all my jokes. I'm not funny to her in the least. She knows how I think about things, and So all the fans of mine who are, oh wow, Sean Crisden, he's. Oh, just to spend a day with him. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. Because my wife has seen and heard it all. And I remember it was when I was still doing on-camera work. And we were on the film set. No, it was an after party. The film had wrapped. And the wardrobe and costume folks were there talking with me. And I was introducing my wife. And they say, you must have the best life that... you get to live with him. He is just so funny and he's so much fun. And she just looked at them and just the look of, child, please. That she's heard it all. She knows everything that I do, and she's tired of my crap, undoubtedly. So I don't know anyone can put up with me for any extended period of time. I'm sure you even put a hard stop on the time that we have to talk together so that you can retain your sanity. I understand.
No, it's no. I just had, as you were talking, and I'm going, I should probably do a series about and invite the spouses of the narrators to come on board and just to
that
talk.
Would be fun.
Because that would be fun, because you guys are all very unique individuals, but also that whole misconception of, because we, especially in the romance world, oh my God, they're so sexy, and oh my God, they can do no evil, blah blah blah, and I'm sure the stories and the stuff that the wives and the spouses can share would be fun. I may have to do that.
And it's a dangerous thing to pull back the veil, and I have no issues with saying, look, I'm a human being too. I think farts are funny. The whole concept of, I narrate these things, and it's also the concept of separating the person from the act of acting and the characters that we're representing. I mean, we see it every day in other types of media, how people become enamored with celebrities based on a role they've portrayed, or sports stars for the teams they play for, or their stats. I call it the Bill Cosby syndrome. Okay. As a Philly kid, I loved me some Bill Cosby, right? thought his stand-up was amazing, and he was just so down to earth, and he contributed so much back to the community, and he was such a positive role model for just growing up as a little kid in the city. And then he got rapey.
Yeah.
So, and it's the question of, can you separate the person from their art? Or, I'm not a big Kanye fan, don't tell people. Because I think he's a brilliant artist, even though I'm not even a huge fan of his music. But Kanye is a troubled human.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because of his mental illness diagnoses, but just because of the way that doesn't make you an asshole, right? He tends to dabble quite exclusively in assholery. But everybody makes their choices. But it's, can you separate a person from their art? Does that mean I shouldn't listen to his music? Or does that mean I shouldn't enjoy Bill Cosby's comedy? For me, I haven't listened to any Bill or watched any Bill Cosby stand-up or any of his shows since that whole thing went down, and I don't know if I ever will. It's a challenge. I call it the Bill Cosby conundrum, that can I appreciate the art outside of the person? I guess it's like looking at a Hitler painting and giving it an objective artistic critique based on the merits of the art, not necessarily the individual behind the art.
Mm-hmm.
But when we start to dive deeper into art, we understand that art is a language. It's a communication from an individual or group. And it's a representation of, on some level, the perspectives and beliefs of that person or group. So they're all sort of woven together. Mm-hmm. So it's just an interesting thing for me. So yeah. Back to that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
No, but I mean, it's one of those, like, I love that people can think and utilize their imagination when you guys are narrating a book and hear you in their heads when if they're reading it and they're like, oh my gosh, Crisden is so awesome and this and that, and he sounds so sexy. But at the same time, I say I'm privy and I'm very blessed to be able to have conversations with you guys and get to know you guys on more of a personal level versus just the business side of things. And so I'm going, if you only knew how much of a dork he was, or the fart jokes that come out of his mouth, I don't know how sexy
you sure they're coming out of my mouth? Whoa! So, hey,
gaming, yeah.
Total dorky nerdy guy. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I live in the desert. Since I moved here, I'm enjoying woodworking. Like I like my solitude. I work out a lot. And like I try to stay in great shape. People look at me and they basically think I look like some kind of black cowboy when, I usually wear boots. I have on a cowboy hat and I was like, yeah, the cowboy hat keeps the sun off my bald head. The boots are necessary walking around, especially my property with all the scorpions and snakes. But it lends itself to that mystique. And people will see pictures like, oh, he's this, and that's okay. I mean, we are who we are, even as narrators or talent or celebrities, and I support that image in people's heads, assuming it's a positive one, and they don't look at me as some decrepit degenerate that does whatever a decrepit degenerate would do. I try to live a good life, folks, but it's, there's always the realization at the end of the day that all of these people, from myself to any of the other narrators to any of the Kardashian clan to Bill Cosby himself, they're just human beings. And that what they do in their creative lives, not necessarily the Kardashians, you'd need a creative life, in their normal lives, is also a component of what they do in those creative lives and who they are as people. But they are just people.
Yeah.
And you may see more of them on television or the radio or what have you, but I mean, it's one of the reasons why I don't get hero worship, or I don't get starstruck when I meet anyone whose work I've appreciated or that I've watched for a long time. Not that is necessarily a good thing, but it's just my brain rationalizes it all as these are people, and this is a person whose work I really enjoy, and I like the work they do in whatever capacity. And some folks find that odd when, especially when I was in LA and you meet a lot of celebrities and you rub elbows with them. And it was always amusing when people, you met so-and-so? Yeah. Oh, well, what was it like? I said, well, we talked about the sandwiches. It's a kind of thing where, it's, and again, I'm weird, and people get weird even when they meet me and they realize that I'm just a guy. I'm just another person. And what do they say? I put my pants on one leg at a time too. Not all the time. Sometimes I try to jump into them. And,
when you're wearing pants, if you wear pants.
When I'm wearing pants. Am I wearing pants right now?
Who knows? We never know when we talk.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I keep you guessing.
Yes.
Right? See, that's the exciting part. All right, keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
I could be on the edge of my seat. Am I dangling off of it inappropriately? No one knows. Right. So.
Yeah, and that's always something that you will always say. It's one of those, am I wearing pants? Like, I think it was one of your top 5 too. One of the, for being a narrator. Yeah. It's like,
am I wearing pants? And I live I'm in the desert.
Yeah. And a bunch of acres, so no one sees unless they're purposely on there. So it's like,
don't often have on pants.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the way it goes. I'm narrating romance. I'm a method actor.
Yeah, it all goes with the territory.
See, yeah, you get it.
I do. It's I mean, I think my brain and your brain are aligned a bit when it comes down to that. I don't get starstruck. I still get nervous a little bit when it comes down to talking to you guys before recording, but usually that's more for me as to, I really hope I don't fuck this up syndrome. But even then, like when I was talking to you or some of the other ones, I know I get a lot of like, oh my God, you've spoken to Sebastian York. And where I'm like going, I had butterflies for Mr. Sebastian York, but I just didn't want to fuck it up.
Yeah. And it comes down to that a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm always nervous. Even doing an interview, there's always a little bit of butterflies. And for me, it's not because I feel like I have to, I don't know, represent some version of myself. This is who I am. I just try to be genuine and authentic because it's easy. Because again, I'm very lazy. I don't need to expend the energy trying to be someone I'm not. But more importantly, it's, I get so comfortable that I'll say something really stupid. And that's usually much like I'll fuck it up, right? So I'll just say something really stupid and there'll be this awkward pause of silence. And then I'll say, okay, so we were talking about blah, blah, blah. And there it is, preserved for all time. Nothing goes away on the internet. And Sean Crisden said something stupid again. So, yeah, that's usually what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was go ahead.
I was going to say, that's also why I do these recorded in advance. I've had people like, you should do these live, like on Facebook or Instagram.
Do it live.
And I'm like, no.
I might screw it up.
I might screw it up. Or at the same time,
I might too.
Exactly. Well, I love and adore you guys. The last thing I want is to have you guys say something that's embarrassing to yourselves, your family, your significant others.
Well, my family has just given up hope on me. I think I've embarrassed every current living member of my family and probably many who are deceased, just by my legacy of idiocy. So it just goes with the territory. But I spent a lot of time performing. I played in a band, so that was always the ultimate. I'm gonna fuck this up, even though you know everything perfectly. It's well rehearsed. There's just that inkling of doubt, that specter that rides you. But then as soon as the lights go up and the first note starts, assuming you can hear that note and all of your gears working, which sometimes it wasn't, then it goes away. And the next thing you know, you're saying thank you, good night. And it's similar to even now, when I'm expected to perform, like when I do some of the animation stuff, especially because a lot of it is done as an ensemble record. So you have all the other talent on, and we've been doing it remotely since the pandemic. or normally you'd just be there in the studio in the room with them, but it's all remotely. So even remote, everybody's on, the writer's on, the director's there, all the other talent that whose work I've adored, in many things. And I did a couple episodes of American Dad, and they're doing the stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't screw this up. I hope I know how to read, and just things where right before you start, I can literally feel my heart beating. Something I've done numerous times. I know how to do it. I have no issues. I know exactly what's going on. But your brain rides you with that crippling self-doubt, and just, you're gonna fuck it up, aren't you, buddy? No. But then as soon as it's time to go, then you don't have time. Your brain no longer has the bandwidth left to focus on that, at least in my case. So then I just do the thing, and then all of a sudden it's over, and you're like, okay, I did the thing, and it was fun, and as it should be. But before I go to do something like that, and even after I finish an audiobook, or after I finish a commercial, or anytime I do anything, I suffer from imposter syndrome. So, which is basically a feeling that they're going to find out that I have no idea what I'm doing, and they're going to realize that I'm terrible. And it happens all the time. And a lot of folks do. A lot of creative talent, a lot of people in the professional space, in the corporate world, feel that too sometimes. I find it to just be a natural, recurring assessment of one's own position in the grand scheme of things. That we always sort of have this feeling that we're not worth something, or we're not good enough for something. And a lot of that, especially now, comes from comparison, most recently for me, through a lot of social media, because everybody's showing you their hashtag best life, and you're like, well, my life's not that great. They're not showing you all of the numerous failures and the trials and the heartache and the time and effort behind the scenes. We get to see the finished product of the shining, polished version of what folks have done. And for me, that is not only distracting to my whole mental process, but it's actually something that's detrimental to me. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of back away from social media a lot. Because I love a good time for doom scrolling too, especially the past couple of years in this country, and just seeing all the crap that's going on and being unable to believe the mentalities and ideas of some folks. But I find it healthier for me overall to be able to remove myself and not be so enmeshed, because it's so easy for me to just fall in, become ensnared in that, and oh, so-and-so did this, and oh, they did that, and look, their child is gorgeous. What's happening? Does my child have both his eyeballs? And it's just ridiculous.
It's hard. So, yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
so I tend to try to stay a little more grounded.
Mm-hmm. It's important though, because there's, like you said, the hashtag best life, without people realizing that one photo probably took 50 takes, and of course filters,
right.
But also the lack of, because now people are always behind the mic or the keyboard, in this case, if we're on social media, are those people that are, saying things mm-hmm. and pretending to be the best of everything. And then better, because either you've had issues or you've had relationships with them, and you're going, that is so fake. And you're going bullshit. But then at the same time, that comparison, I suffer from imposter syndrome. I've been doing this now for business in the industry now for 11 to 10 years. And the podcast is rather 3 years, mm-hmm. but the series is like 8 years old that I've been doing the Audiobook Lovin Series. And I still go, do they want to? And
it's still terrible. You're terrible. The whole thing sucks.
It does. Yeah. And I'm going, do they want to be a guest? Is anybody listening? I sound horrible.
And there just comes a time out of all of that morass of self-defeating negativity that's constantly circling in my brain, where we just have to rise above it. Even if you still believe it, and you just say, you know what, I just have to do the thing. This is the thing I'm doing, and I have to do it. Where for me to, when I admit that to people, they say, "No way, you're Sean Crisden. You've done all the things with the stuff." And but yeah, people basically see my hashtag best life, right? When they see that stuff, and then the struggles and the trials, and when I go into what I call the pit, which is basically depression over feeling I'm not good enough, I'm not accomplishing enough, that I'm just nowhere where I should be based on my known capacity and what I should be doing. I deal with that regularly. So I think in some level that's also a part of the creative process for most creative talent, the intensity of which varies from person to person, but I think everyone tends to deal with at least some shadow of that within their own psyche of how they relate to themselves, what they do, what they create, and the world at large. So it can be very challenging. I mean, I always look back to someone like Robin Williams, extremely popular, extremely talented, well-storied, well-learned man, who was phenomenally creative, phenomenally expressive, also an introvert, also struggling with many, many personal demons that obviously we see how that culminated. And a lot of, most people didn't know that, and then would look at it and say, well, what would drive him to do that? The world was his oyster, and yada, yada. And, that's one of the ideas that where our empathy can lead us astray to not see the bigger picture and not see the specific details and circumstances relating to him and his life and his perception of his life that he was struggling with. And it's something that I think about relatively regularly in terms of it being intertwined with the creative process and being a creative talent. That it and not that I'm having any sort of suicidal ideation, but just that the extreme swings of emotion and the perspective of where you are, how your work is valued both by yourself and how it's received by an audience are there's a bit of dysmorphia related to what you see and what's objectively true, and it changes from time to time. It's weird. Humans are weird.
Yeah,
we're just weird.
Like Shrek said, we're like onions. There's multiple layers.
there are multiple layers, right?
Yeah,
and they're always changing.
Yeah, ever growing.
For some of us, anyway.
Yeah,
some of us, you kind of get what they're about.
True, but the majority of us, I mean, there's just a lot of so many things coming at us in one direction, whether it's social media or day jobs or just the stuff that we do, family and all that other fun stuff. That's why I love the ability to be able to escape into the books and to just enjoy, whether it's a book that you've narrated or someone else has, and be able to still do other stuff while I'm listening and not feel guilty that I'm listening to something I want to do because it's my time or whatever.
Right.
And trying to focus more on the self-care of stuff. And it's okay to have time for me. And I don't have to be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Sean.
I heard there was a memo dispatched. I'll have to see.
Yeah, well, you and I are in the same camp. We're
somewhere.
going, we're not.
Well, that's the challenge when you run your own business.
Yes.
And anytime you're not working, you feel like, well, I could be working and I could be growing this and this could be scaling to a bigger level and I can make money doing that and I can yada, yada, yada. And fortunately now I'm at the point where I'm comfortable. I'm very comfortable in my career and that's a wonderful thing. But for me, I always feel like I need to strive to do more, to accomplish more, because I know what my capacity is in theory for my work output, for creating. And it's not just the VO work. So it's not just voiceover, my voice acting. I have so many musical ideas that I need to get out. Most people, I went to school for visual art. I was going to be an illustrator or end up being an art teacher. And so I have I need to return to painting and art, and those things are constantly sort of gnawing at the back of my head. I have, like I said, I have a lot of music that I want to do. I did put some music on Instagram. So I did do that at the height of the pandemic. I did
I remember
a couple things of music therapy. So I felt good about that. I have another one that I'm actually working on.
Nice.
That one of these days I'll do it when I get just a free weekend day. I just need a weekend day. Time is the most valuable commodity, especially at this point in my life, and I guess in most people's lives as you creep into they call it middle age, but I'm just a little older than I was before. And so as we creep into that, now the most valuable commodity for me is time. And not just the time to produce, as a creative talent, but also the time to spend with family and friends, and the time to, spend literally with my son. And I guess he would be included in family and friends. He's like a whole other thing. And
yeah.
He's just this whole category unto himself.
Yes.
But you find that time is so fleeting, and you begin to get this more acute realization of the concept of passing time.
Mm-hmm.
And largely it's because, we're no longer at the point in our lives where we're constantly experiencing something new, constantly learning something new, changing and growing. And we reach this point where there's sort of this stability for most of us, not all of us, but for most of us. And your day in and day out routine is sort of the same generally. So things begin to kind of morph together in terms of our interpretation and experience of how time passes, and it just makes it pass faster. Where when you were a kid and all of your elders would say, when you get older, it's just gonna go so fast, you're gonna wish you were back here as a kid, and as a kid you can't wait to be older, you want to be an adult, and as an adult you just wish you were a kid again. And because you have this finer, more acutely tuned perspective of how it works. And it's I don't know. It's a thing where I have friends who are in their 70s and now pushing their 80s who tell me, you're just a kid, you figure it out. And I appreciate that now.
Yeah. Like, thanks.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Grandpa, thanks so much. And I can appreciate that. Whereas a kid, when you're told you're a kid, it's an insult.
That is true. Yes.
And you're just a kid. Yeah. And I'm just a kid. And I said, yeah, and I have to appreciate that and respect their position and literally their seniority, that they've survived this long in this crazy place and can offer some additional perspective and insight from their spot on the mountain. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know what I was talking about. See, I was rambling. Again, that age thing, I just go on. I just go out and look at clouds and yell at them. I don't know.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn, you. Oh, these ground squirrels are driving me crazy. I have been yelling at ground squirrels out here. But yeah.
Ground squirrels? I thought they were just squirrels.
Oh, yeah.
What's the difference?
Nope, not out here. Well, your typical squirrel, like what we experience, in the East Coast and what you have, and even on both coasts and in most parts of the country, are tree-dwelling squirrels. So they create their dens or nests. I don't know what they have. They're squirrel huts in a tree. And California and in the Southwest, and there may be some as far north as Colorado. I'm not entirely sure their full range. We have different types of ground squirrels who actually den in the ground. They burrow into the ground. And they are here. They're quite a nuisance because they eat everything. So they love, and they eat seeds and grasses and vegetation. So when you're trying to have a vegetable garden or any new landscaping material like plants and species that they don't normally eat, but there's a drought and a lot of the other food sources are scarce, then they start eating everything else. So it's just a constant battle. I'm shaking my fists an awful lot.
Oh my goodness.
You remember the old cartoons where there'd be a gopher or a rabbit, or Bugs Bunny or something, and you'd see the top of the ground and a plant, and the plant would wiggle a little and then shoot right down into the ground. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh boy. Yeah, must be definitely a pain when you're trying to do a garden or keep your landscaping alive in such weather. Yeah. But they're cute.
Yeah. And I mean, I just go for natural desert landscape. You know, I don't want to introduce non-native species, and you know, you support the
environment,
the ecosystem here.
Yeah.
And especially with our water shortages and the impending drought that will at some point descend itself upon the Southwest and the West in general. But it's a challenge. Yeah. So but I digress.
So we're talking about.
I don't mean to offend all of our ground squirrel listeners.
No.
We're just listening and.
They might be my biggest audience. You never know. God.
Who knows? And now look at that. I just cut out a large swath of them and just insulted them.
It's okay.
The sponsors are going to pull out.
Oh, no, not the sponsors. Jeez. I have to get those.
That's
but
Sean
anyways.
Crisden. See, there he is saying stupid stuff.
No. But you've been doing a lot of the, like you were saying, the animation and videos and voiceover acting and the romance. Are you thinking of doing that next step as far as, you know, what it would be your next step as far as career wise? I know you've done a little bit of coaching.
I have done coaching. I've taken on students who have sort of come to me organically. I don't advertise that I'm a coach. I've done workshops. I've given workshops. And people make fun of my workshops because I don't do it to make a profit. So even I'm a member of the board here in this town of a local nonprofit's creative arts group. And I've done workshops for them because I believe in bringing the elements of a creative life and how you can work and build a sustainable career through your creative work to people in the community that want to do that, and also just that want to explore making funny voices. And so I've done workshops, and people say, you don't charge enough for your coaching or for your workshops. And I said, well, I'm not here to make money off of it. I'm here to provide people a service, and I want them to feel that it's valuable to them. So it has an implied value of, okay, you have to pay X amount of dollars to attend this, just so that they feel like it's not $1. And they're like, it was $1. Who cares? You know? And you know, the other part of the imposter syndrome showing its head again. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Good luck. So, and it's always comical to think about it that way because I do. I've been in this industry a long time. I've achieved considerable success in it. Not that my methods work for everyone, but it gives people a perspective and a way to help as a benchmark for navigating it and understanding some of the things that are required and some of the things that are useful in navigating that territory. So yeah, I do that. And a lot of times people just ask me a lot of questions because like I think I said earlier, I love interacting with fans and people who like just learning about VO. That stuff's fun. I like talking shop. And eventually some of those organically grow into, can you please help me with this? And can you coach me? I say, yeah, of course. I just have to find the time. Then I schedule it to do it. And I like helping people because for me, I initially didn't have any help. I had to basically do my best guess to find my way through. And I met with a lot of people that said, you can't do that. It'll never work for you. I had a lot of what I call anchors, which are people who just drag you down and keep you stationary and in place. So for me, having had that experience, I don't necessarily want other people to have that same experience. So I try to help them to propel them forward to reach whatever limits of their ability they can go for. So I do try to help folks when and where I can. I mean, I end up working a lot, so it's not often that I do that, but I do. But I don't advertise it. You know, there's some folks who make a great living coaching and helping other people, and good on them. That's just not what I want to do. Like I sort of take on coaching as it arises organically. Like it just, I know I'm in a position to help steer someone in the right direction, then I do that when I can. It's just, I like giving back and helping folks. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, no, I get that. I've been, I think it's what is it? One of my strengths in the Strength Finder is development, and I'm a learner. So I do both, like to teach people and when they, and help them out when they can, and stuff like that. But does that also then mean, so from a career perspective, what are you thinking as is your next step? Do you know yet, or are you just really enjoying what you're doing right now?
That's right. I totally avoided answering that question, didn't I?
Yeah.
You can't trust me. Yeah, he's great at interviewing. I love interviewing. He never answers anything. Right now, I'm digging more into animation and video games. That will likely become my focus in the coming, in the coming 2 to 3 years, because that's really fun for me. I've actually taken most recently a back seat from my narration. I've actually sort of switched genres, so I haven't done as much romance as I have in the past, because I was starting to burn out on romance from just from the formula of, from cute meat onto where you know what's going to happen, where it was starting to not fulfill my creative spirit, because I knew it was so predictable. I knew, you know exactly what's going to happen. I was like, I don't even need to read the book. I know what's going to happen. Where you don't go on a ride. And it's not all the time, but it's just, I've done so many books that it began to get a little stale. So I said, I'm going to step away from it for a while. So I said, I'm going to look at some of my other narrative loves, which are, I enjoy mystery, suspense work. I'm a big horror fan, but I don't know how well a horror narrator I'd make. But I've dabbled, and a lot of really kind of emotionally stirring dramas in terms of the actual work, where that's been a lot of my most recent work. And I get right now maybe one romance book a month has come that I've accepted, and next year I have a bunch more, because I said I've had enough of a break. I can get back into them, but I had to take a little break from it, and but that's pretty much it. I'm enjoying the animation and video game work. The sort of big full character acting is where I'm focusing a lot of my energy right now. But so that's probably another 2 years, and beyond that, I'll have to reassess what I want to do, because a lot of it is, subject to my own whimsy and fancy of what I feel like. But the idea that I'm trying to work less, and still keep the lights on, but to actually work less so that I have the time and energy for those other valuable components of living, which are family and friends and the boy, my son. So, so I'm trying to schedule it that way. So that's generally my plan, because as I wanted to scale and scale and scale, and then I have to still scale to a point that I can manage without getting so crazy that I just lose the hair I don't have left, and don't have the time or the energy to do it.
Yeah. So it's a difficult thing for the creatives to do, because they're constantly looking at what else to learn or what else to try, or the ideas come. Like, I've totally have said to myself, aside from not being able to go to the pound or anything like that, because I will come home with a dog or a cat, but it's also
we're just gonna look.
We're gonna look. Yeah. But I also will not start a new hobby, because then it becomes a business.
Yeah. I see. If you're into any of the Myers-Briggs personality types, which I am with a big grain of salt, I'm generally an INTP. So I share a similar approach to things. I know a great deal about a great many things, and then when I get something that grabs my attention, I dive in feet first. No breathing apparatus, and I just want to be immersed in it and learn everything I can about it until I burn out on it. And it's like my wife says, the running joke is, anytime I get involved with anything, if it's an organization or a group or a hobby, I basically take over. And it's not because I want to, but it's because I become so ravenous in learning about it. And I have people have described it as a natural charisma. But I also tend to be reasonably intelligent and systematically logical in how I approach things, which tends to be some strong facets for leadership. So I inadvertently end up taking over things, not because I want to, but because people begin to defer to me, or I find a hobby or something like you were saying, and then I just I have to know everything there is about this, and it becomes yeah. So
like I said, I'm not allowed.
yeah, pretty much. I just have to avoid it.
Yeah.
Right? I have to. Okay, I'm not going to look at that. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to talk to them. I've actually learned to keep my mouth shut.
I'm learning.
in social settings, right?
I'm learning because I don't want to volunteer.
Yeah. Exactly. Or be volunteer or be voluntold.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That you can do that. You're so smart. Damn it! I don't have pants on. That's usually how it goes.
Can we use that out as a way out?
I've tried it. I've done it before. This is why I use that. And I think for me, because I represent myself generally as I am, right? I believe in authenticity and being genuine with who you are. And I say it's because I'm lazy and I don't have time to pretend. But isn't my whole job largely playing pretend? I don't have time to pretend I am as a person someone else, because then you got to remember and the lies and you need a spreadsheet.
Work.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And for some people, they're not accustomed to that. They're used to people basically blowing smoke up their ass for whatever they want. And I'm at a point in my life and my career where this is what you get, So some people may be attracted to that. They're kind of drawn to it, and I accept that. But it's also, I just learn to keep my mouth shut a lot, because when I start talking about stuff and I talk to people about things, especially if it's something I'm excited about, I've had to learn to interact differently. So in a sense, I've had to curtail who I am so that I don't get drawn into these situations where I'm diving in feet first and I got to learn everything and help everybody and do all the things and have all this stuff. So I've learned to throttle back a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning to do that.
I see, when you said that, I said, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. And this is from a guy who's I'm an introvert.
Yeah,
I'm
me
an
too.
introvert who knows how to turn on extroversion when it's necessary and can be really good at that. But then it takes me 4 days to recover in a dark room.
Yep.
So it's challenging for me. But
people are shocked when they find he's an introvert. Yes, he's an introvert. Same with me.
Yeah.
They're like, "You're an introvert." I go, "Yes, I am. I'm also an INFJ in the Myers-Briggs." So, yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
It all makes sense now. Because that's like people, when I tell people that know that, they say, "Oh, so you like to debate and see both sides of things?" I say, "Yep, very much so. I very much like to understand people and perspectives and play devil's advocate for things and but
the big picture. It's like the whole big picture and how to figure them out into putting them into smaller pictures to get it to that big picture. Yeah, it's all that. That's why I'm not allowed to do new hobbies. I will not learn how to use what is anything with like making those tumblers. I would love. Oh my god, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. See, I try, and this is why I also stay off of social media. Social media version, because I get sucked in. And like TikTok would ruin me. I'd be ruined. I would never narrate another book. All I'd want to do is produce content for TikTok and fall down TikTok rabbit holes with other people's stuff.
You would, but it'd be fun though. But yeah, it would.
It'd be fun, but hey, Sean Crisden never going to do another book? Probably not.
No,
probably not.
No,
have you checked out his TikTok? He does his TikTok reaction videos. Yeah.
Oh my god, no.
No, I'm just see. It's
no. Stop. Yeah.
See. Yeah. I'm doing this for you.
No. No way. No, thank you. Why don't we do this? Why don't we have this the fun part now of, aside from all the fun we've been having, let's do the 2 truths and a lie. That was part of your homework.
2 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, this girl, she told me I got some homework, this stuff to do, and little did I tell her, I don't really do homework anymore. So, 2 truths and a lie. So,
this is where you're going to tell us 3 things.
3 things
about you, of which 2 are true and 1's a lie.
Okay.
And we have to guess. And I say we because I love thinking that the listeners are playing along with me, even though it's just myself right now on the mic. But yeah.
Well, it's just you always playing with yourself. Okay, 2 truths and a lie. Here we go. All right. So I did my homework here.
Okay.
So here I will give you 3 things. Here's the first thing. By the end of this year, I will have narrated my 500th audiobook. The last book of this year will make book number 500. Very convenient. So that is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is despite the presence of my intimidating and inspiring character, I am only 5 feet 8 inches tall. I usually tell people that I am short in stature only. Number 3, I am incapable of whistling. When I attempt to whistle, it basically sounds like a duck choking on human saliva. So there are your 3 things. 500 audiobooks by the end of the year. I stand at a measly 5 foot 8 inches. I cannot whistle.
Wow. Okay. So if we do the math, which I'm horrible at, our Audible said that you have about 385 done. So, but then again, there's books that you probably have not come out, will be coming out, and some that you've recorded, but may not have ever seen the light of day as of yet.
Very true.
Yes. And then the height being 5'8", and then the no whistling. Didn't you whistle a few seconds ago? See, I was so enthralled in the conversation. I could have sworn that.
Did I?
Did you?
Did it kind of sound like...
No.
Was I doing that?
No, I thought it was real whistling. So let's see.
Real whistling, did I? Okay. I mean, I'm giving it away. Well, maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Yeah. I can't say. Go to the tape, Charlie!
Yeah, in this case,
we're doing it live.
Yeah.
We're doing it live, folks.
Yeah, my editor is going to be like, who's Charlie?
I'm not Charlie.
Yeah. No, Gabby. It's Gabby. Yeah. No, that's my editor, Gabby.
Don't go to the tape, Gabby. Although Gabby may be wondering, did he whistle? I don't remember if I heard him whistle.
They'll FaceTime me and say, how did you miss that? Well, I was in the conversation. I was paying attention. It was not about
present and in the moment.
Exactly. As you should be. Mm-hmm. So let's see. That's okay. Right. The lie is the 500 books.
Your choice is the lie is the 500 books.
Yes.
Let's ask the audience, which do you think is the lie? Then there should be some sort of clicking talk. Clicking talk.
No, you got ticking talk.
Yeah, a clicking talk. A ticking clock. So that folks can guess it. Yeah. That was a good guess, but you were wrong.
I'm wrong. Okay, so the lie. Then you're 5'8". That's what I thought. See?
Nope. The lie is I cannot whistle, for I can whistle. Yes. I am an avid whistler, often whistling so that people don't know the evil thoughts I'm thinking. So
should have gone with my gut. I need to learn how to just listen to that gut thing. Yeah.
Or listen to me whistling. I very well may have whistled.
I know, but again, so in the presence that I'm like, I completely locked it out.
That's the subtlety of it.
Yeah.
That I even threw a clue out there.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for those kids and that pesky dog. Yes. So yeah, I will actually, I was shocked because I did the math because I have a list of every audiobook I've ever done. And I said, I'm about to hit 500 audiobooks. And the very last book that I will narrate this year, in December of this year, will be number 500. It's
Wow.
Martin and Malcolm and America, which is sort of this review of the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X's place within it. And I said, boy, that's something. So 500 books is impressive for me. That's something. I'll have to do some sort of special thingamajigger for folks.
I was gonna say, I'll have to. I'll shoot you a note.
Yeah, see, you will have to tell me to do and help me and remind me, because
I will
I'm
remind
terrible
you
at these things.
Yes,
like, you're gonna do 500 books. Yeah, maybe I'll do a. I always wanted to do a celebrating the thing. To celebrate something, to do like a lunch date or a dinner with someone where they get hang out with Sean Crisden for 3 hours, listen to all his fart jokes, that kind of thing. Just ruin your hopes and dreams. That, I think that would be something kind of fun. But who knows, in terms of where we are in terms of COVID and all the other things, I may just have to do we could do a virtual call for folks too.
That'd be fun.
Something fun. I don't know. I solicit suggestions. What I should do to celebrate my 500th audio.
Yeah, I will. I'll put that out there with the people and the listeners and see what they come up with, and then
that's the poll. There's a poll.
Yeah,
See, there's a listener poll.
Yeah.
What should that idiot do to celebrate his 500th audiobook? So
it's a huge milestone.
It actually is. I mean, don't let me diminish it with my facetiousness. It's I was taken aback when I realized that was the number. Of audiobooks that I will have completely narrated. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
Is, yeah. From all different genres. Like I said, and going by what Audible says, because that's right now the one place where we can keep track of things. Mm-hmm. It's saying 385. Yeah.
385. So I still have a number of books between now and then, but there's at least 100 books that are not available on Audible. And I think we were saying it earlier, I think it was on this broadcast and not before, that I have been talking to a lot of authors and rights holders who are pulling their stuff.
Yeah, they are.
And going wide and through other retail channels. And some are just specifically selling them through their own websites and their own portal.
The technology that's available nowadays. Yeah, it's
an interesting moment right now in the audiobook industry, because accessibility for listeners is being challenged by basically these platforms having some difficult to abide by terms for the rights holders. So I'm not sure how that will end up playing itself out. And there's also been a bit of mismanagement as well, between ACX and Audible, and how they've really screwed the pooch, so to speak, with some of the rights holders. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what comes of it.
Yeah. I just wish that, so there's Goodreads, which is how, a website where people use to kind of keep track of their, wish list of what they've been current listening to and their to be read list and stuff like that. I kind of wish that there was something similar, but I'm not going to create it because that's not what I'm going to be doing. Well, for audiobooks,
you were an early victim of my own crazy ideas when I was talking about. Of which is still on the back burner.
Yes.
We'll see if I ever get to it. And
that was a good idea.
It was when I first saw the ripples and saying, well, how do we get content to people? How do people get their books without getting ripped off by, and so that the rights holders and the listeners, everybody's happy, to make this sort of happy ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And I said, all right, I'm gonna dig into that. And it just kind of,
we got as far as the logo.
Yeah, we got it. We got a logo done. Well, actually, I think I wrote up a whole business plan.
I think you did.
And, I was getting pretty far into it, and I was canvassing some listeners just to get opinions on what works and what things make the most sense for them. I was canvassing a ton of authors and looking at what works, what makes sense. Because for me, I was just tired of being in the middle of, you're a narrator, and seeing that there are listeners who are unhappy, there are authors and other rights holders, and some of the producers and publishers were unhappy with the way that we're getting these titles to the listeners, and the entire ecosystem was wacky, and it's still getting stirred up. So I'm not sure when all the sediment settles to the bottom what will be left. But ACX and Audible they're the 300-pound gorilla in the room. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And since we're being completely vague here, it was a really good idea. And sooner or later, he's going to announce it. Hopefully that he's doing something with whatever it is that he decides to do,
Got the thing with this stuff. And I fully admit that this vagueness is not intentional. I can't even remember the title of the project right now. I remember entirely what it was about. I know the whole thing, and I'm not trying to be secretive or anything, but of course, since it's shelved right now, I don't necessarily want to throw it out. And somebody says, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
And we actually have the mojo to make it happen because he's lazy and naps too much. So
and has a kid and a wife and a family. Yeah. So
he does all these things.
Yeah.
But it was a thing. Yes. So and I dragged you into that with me. And you were a tremendous help. So when I rekindle the fire with that, I'll
be back.
Yep. Yeah. We don't know if she ever left.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll definitely poke you with that. But getting to it and especially now, in fact, the whole climate for it now is worse than it was even then, because then I just sort of saw the
potential for it. Yeah,
I felt the disturbance in the force. Yeah, and now it's really sort of igniting itself. So
especially with audiobooks being as popular and trendy as they are right now, to be able to provide everyone in the industry with an opportunity to get their books there would be good. But so more to come is my hashtag when I do things like this. And I actually have a listener by the name of Carrie, who I love and adore, but she always takes a shot of something alcoholic when she hears me or sees me use the hashtag more to come. So I do that on purpose now. Go. So there you go, Carrie. Love you.
Well, she's feeling good right about now.
I'm sure she is. Yeah. Well, before we go, why don't you tell us what you're currently working on or that you can share that's coming up next?
Okay. Well, let's see. Well, the last month or so was actually one book, because I just finished a narration on an almost 40-hour book. Let me think. So prior to that, what came in before that? I did The Salt Fields by Stacey Flood, which is a novella. Fabulous book. Stacey has such a command of language that it was just a joy to read it. So I recommend that one. It's not, The Salt Fields was not romance per se. It was basically about a train ride out of the Carolinas to the north, and the occupants of the train thereof, and sort of their lives colliding. Really well done, really well written. So I do heartily recommend that one. I did Black Noir, which was, I was saying more suspense and mystery, which is an anthology of crime and fiction written by African American authors, edited by Otto Penzler, which some really neat little stories in there. So if that's your jam, and you like some Sean Crisden, Unexpected Expectations, which is the first book in the Luke Brothers series by Casey Mills, which is a good old-fashioned classic romance. A little bit of action with that one. That one was actually pretty fun. I enjoyed that one. I believe that was a co-narration, as I recall. But of course, I have so many, and I always do a disservice to my co-narrators. And I say, oh, that was a co-narration, I think, with I can't remember what it was. Yeah. Don't beat me. And again, I probably should have done my homework and had all of this ready to say, so I sounded knowledgeable and sure of myself. That's Sean Crisden. Then was Five Smooth Stones, which was Anne Fairbairn, which was the one that I think it comes in just under 40 hours, which was a fabulous story of, on the whole, it's a love story, but it basically examines the generations of a family born into a black family that begins in Louisiana, in New Orleans, born into a world of systemic racism, and then how that eventually butts up against the civil rights movement, love and sacrifice. And it was written in 1966. So it didn't really get to see the end of the civil rights movement. Not that it ever ended, but of that period of civil rights in the United States. Really, really powerful book. There may have been tears for me. It's rare that books make me cry. I believe I cried twice in that book.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't even at the end. So that was one that really, really impacted me. Then I just finished Hostile Takeover by Lucy Lennox, which is a male romance, big money, high power, and the good old fake relationship, refaction-ship, as I call it, that ends into something much, much more. So that one's fun. And I'm about to start tomorrow. I would have started it today, but somebody wanted to do an interview, and you know how that goes.
Yeah, I know.
The 13th book in the Ice Home series, Bridget's Bane, which, boy, that one, that's the third. I think I did them all. They're co-narrations with, she's gonna beat me. They're co-narrated because I believe she's using a pseudo, and I don't want to. I can't remember what her pseudo is. Yeah. Can
I help me out? Help me out. Hell yeah. Let's see.
I guess I could too. I'm sitting here.
Julian Macy. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get the right series, because there's Planet Barbarians. That's not her. Oh, she did the alien ones. That's right.
Yeah, it's all aliens. It's Felicity Monroe.
Yes,
is my co-narrator for those. And they're all aliens. And Ruby Dixon has created this fantastic Star Trek-y-ish alien world of these big, massive, hunky alien guys who all do all these kind of things. And they're all muscular, and one changes into a dragon. And so there's shifter stuff going on, and they all have a relatively human anatomy with some alien enhancements.
It's spicy.
It's real spicy. It's spicy, child. So if that's your thing, definitely that whole series is pretty wild. So doing starting the 13th book in that series.
Nice.
If that's your jam, jam. That's tomorrow. But let me see. Actually, I can look and see what else.
I know that you did Saint by Sierra Simone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's coming out. She shared that the files have been uploaded, and hopefully it's through review and out in a couple of weeks. So
yeah, when did I do Saint? Because I didn't even show up on my most recent. So I'm trying to think of when I squeezed Saint in. I can't even remember.
I'm sure you squeezed it in, all right.
All right, you know how it is. If it's too tight, you use a little lube, and it fits just fine. And that's also part of it. There are times where I'm working on multiple books at the same time. I typically try to schedule just one book at a time, but sometimes someone will ask if I can squeeze something in or make something work based on my schedule, because I'm usually booked out pretty far. Like right now, I'm booked out through the end of February for just audiobooks, and then it's also working the animation and the
between
commercials and the e-learning and all the other stuff in there somehow. So which is great, because it gives me a sense of security as a creative talent, because the old adage as an actor is you're only employed until your current job ends, and then you're unemployed again, technically speaking. So
freelancing, gotta love it.
So you work and being able to be booked out, because I've enjoyed reasonable success and popularity as a narrator, is nice. It's comforting, but it's also squeezing stuff in there. So a lot of times I have to turn down books that I'd want to do because my schedule's already packed. And so there have been times I've missed out on stuff that I just had to say no because I don't have the technology to clone myself yet. That just has to pass on to somebody else.
Yeah.
So, but that's some good stuff. I feel like there are a couple other books that I did that I can't remember that came up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Audible has it pretty up to date. You Can See Me, that came out in July. The Salts is out already. Black Noir is out already too. So that the Luke Brothers, there's a complete collections that's being done like a box set. It looks like. So that's coming out September 28th. So it has Chance Smolder, a bunch of other narrators there. That's good. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that's good fun.
And like you said, you have 100-something odd books between now and your 500. So we got stuff to listen to.
Yeah, there's plenty to listen to.
Yeah.
And now it's actually piqued my own interest and curiosity in where some of these other books are, and that because it's difficult for me to keep track of everything when it's in retail, when it's out of retail, when the rights holder has pulled something.
Oh gosh, so it's crazy. Or when we have a release date given by said retailer, then all of a sudden the next day you get the notification by a listener, "Hey, your book's available." Fuck, where's my marketing plan go? Yeah. Yep. There goes marketing. I know.
Yep. A lot of authors have that problem where sometimes it's difficult to even know what's happening behind the scenes on various platforms and when you're trying to coordinate it from a marketing perspective, and just so you know, well, when is this going to hit retail so I can be ready? It's just who knows. So
yeah, but when
some
Sierra
folks are really good at it.
Yeah, but when Sierra made the announcement that the Saint was coming out and who the narrators were, they went batshit crazy over you and Jacob. So that was good.
Aww. That makes me feel good. And see, I miss this stuff sometimes because I'm not always on social media. Sometimes I get pinged a lot for it, but I try to then pop in if somebody says, "Oh, Sean Crisden, blah, blah, blah." And I usually pop in and say some terrible self-deprecating comment. But yeah.
I'll have to figure something out where I can ping you and you'll for sure get it. That doesn't have to be on social media. So I can be like, go over to Facebook now. You know,
look at this thing.
See this stuff. You have 10 minutes to do this and get out. Get in, get out. You're done.
Yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am.
No, but that makes you not anxious about getting stuck in the hole of ever being in social media again. It's that it's true. You do it for 10 minutes, you're in and you're out and you're done.
Well, and that's what I do. When I limit because I typically every couple of days I'll go in, unless somebody pings me directly and says, "Hey, this is happening. You should check this out. They're talking about you and your mama's ugly." Then I'll go in and say, "All right, I'm going to go in. I have to look at all my notifications." So by then I have hundreds of notifications of people who have pinged me, tagged me, and I try to get through them all. And because I want to respond to everyone that I can, but invariably I miss a lot. Yeah. Because
we'll straighten you out. Don't worry.
You have to do something.
We'll do it. Yeah.
Whips and chains. And chains.
I have those. We'll do it fine.
Don't doubt it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for returning and being here, hanging out with me again. I appreciate you always and love and adore you. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. As always, it is my distinct pleasure.
Thank you. And I will be including those lovely social media links, even though he's hardly there, but he's trying to get better at it. So maybe more people
I am getting better at it.
Yeah.
If people poke me, I do try to respond. Yeah. And if I don't respond, poke me again.
Yeah, just not too hard because then it gets all like weird.
That might have been a book I narrated.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Poke me, yeah. There was a book.
Me again, the sequel.
There was
Poke Me 3, The Pokening. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a book called Just a Tip, so let's not go there.
There was. I know.
Yeah. So we'll be including those links in the episode's post over at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listening. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you wholeheartedly to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Chrissy Font, Karen Hoffman, Leanne Schwartz, Lynn Black-Patterson, Michelle DaCosta, Bethany Crane, Brittany Robinette-Leiter, Dawn Darsh, Carrie Wallace, Christy Reitz, Michelle Bestard, Valerie Wall, and Nancy Billows. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobookllovin. Benefits include early access, shoutouts, special exclusive content, and much more. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.